This video should be watched after the earlier video made on occult chemistry by me in this channel, because I'd like to go into the research that was done collaborating today's science with this book researched by Annie Besant and C.W. Leadbeater. Annie Besant and Leadbeater started this research in 1895 after AP Sinnett suggested to Leadbeater that since he had developed this yogic power of making himself small, that he could go and examine the inside of an atom and other of all elements. So Annie Besant joined this research, and together they started publishing in the Lucifer magazine in 1895. That's when they had examined the hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen atoms, which we saw in the earlier video. Later, they continued that kind of research, that this kind of yogic research into the elements, the nucleus of the elements of various atoms for nearly 38 years until 1933. They published in 1907, then they published in 1919, and finally, after both of them passed, this book, Occult Chemistry, was compiled in 1951 by Raja Jinaraja Dasa with his commentary, which is the most complete sort of publication of this. So now let us look at what the latest research on this is said. So basically, science admits that the ultimate physical atom is a subquark, also called an omegon. And this word omegon was a name given by uh, one physicist, particle physicist, Stephen Phillips, in 1979. And he published a book called The Extrasensory Perception of Quarks. And about this book, a commentary was written by Lester Smith called Occult Chemistry Reevaluated. This book was published in 1880. This this 82, and this one in 1880. So both these books were published by the Theosophical Publishing House in America, and they are really books which can be better understood by people who are particle physicists, not laymen like us, but a few things which I could understand, which seemed striking to me. I wanted to bring that out and keep that matter of study. So basically, one thing that he talks about, that is Lester Smith, who published his book in 1882, talks about that the sizes of these uh, atomic and subatomic particles were actually in uh, millions of grades smaller. For example, the atom itself is millions of times larger than the nucleus. The nucleus itself is millions of times larger than the each of the quarks. The quark is a collection of UPA, which we will see later on. And so the quark is millions of times smaller than the nucleus. And inside the quark, the omegon, or the ultimate physical atom, is millions of times smaller than the quark. So each time the observers, that is Leadbeater and Besant, had to make themselves millions of times smaller to see what was the next thing, the next thing, and next thing. So now let us examine this part of what these nucleus and these quarks, subquarks, and omegons are. Before that, one thing which is glaringly missing is a mention of the word electron in the occult chemistry book, which was later on seen by another occultist and theosophist, Geoffrey Hodgson, and he said that it resembles the ultimate physical atom, but it is much smaller. He saw it when it was separated in the cathode ray tube, which was invented by Thomas Crookes. And I think that was how it was discovered. Now, let us understand this whole business of quarks, subquarks, and omegons. For people who are not in science, it is very difficult for us to understand. Firstly, we must understand that quarks are things which are there in a nucleus of an atom. Now, the nucleus of an atom is made up of a collection of quarks, and a quark is made up of a collection of ultimate physical atom. So here you see a sphere. This sphere is a quark, and it is made up of three ultimate physical atoms. So this sphere is one sphere, this is another sphere, and this is a third sphere. These three spheres together are connected by lines of force and make a proton. So quarks itself are of two types. We'll see that later. But before that, we must know that the sphere is a quark, and the ultimate physical atom, science gives it the name subquark or omegon. So these two, this much we should know for with clarity. Next thing is, we know already from our earlier video that ultimate physical atom can be positive or negative. So that is even in today's in modern science, the omegons are also positive or negative. So the black one is positive. Here you see the omegon. The black is positive and the white circle is negative. Now, next that let us look at the quark itself. I had just mentioned that there are two types of quarks. One is an up quark and one is a down quark. Now, up quark, you see at the bottom where these purple arrows are. The up quark has got a positive charge of 2 by 3. It is made up of two positive ultimate atoms and one negative ultimate atoms. That is a up quark. So here you have two up quarks in this proton. In this proton, you have two up quarks made up of two positive ultimate physical atom and one negative ultimate physical atom. So if you were to look at their charges, the each of these ultimate physical atoms, positive one, has a charge of 2 by 3. So that is 2 by 3, 1 2 by 3 plus 1 2 by 3. And the negative ultimate physical atom has got a negative charge of 1 by 3. So 2 by 3 plus 2 by 3 plus minus 1 by 3 is equal to 1. 2 by 3 plus 2 by 3 is 3 by 3, 1. Sorry, is 4 by 3 plus minus 1 by 3 will make it 1. So there's a charge of 1 which a proton has got, okay, which makes complete sense. And then neutrons are different. A neutron has got two down quarks, that is two down means negative. So minus 1 by 3 and minus 1 by 3. And this is a positive quark or up quark, which is plus 2 by 3. So neutron has got two down quarks and one up quark. If you add them all together, like in this case, you will get minus 1 by 3 plus minus 1 by 3 plus 2 by 3 is equal to 0. A neutron, as you know, has got no charge. So these are the modern day science words. Now, the other thing we all heard about is string theory in modern science, in atomic science, so atomic physics. So Annie Besant had made her own sketches of the strings or forces of forces of lines of force, and she mentioned them quite a bit. And whatever she had drawn are identical with what a theoretical physicist published in 1970, showing lines of force or strings, as they are called, between quarks in small groupings. So in the book Occult Chemistry, we saw that these ultimate physical atoms were joined together by lines, either joining them from top to bottom like this, or they were joined together in shapes, in curled shapes. So what modern day science in 1970s has also mentioned the same thing, that quarks are joined together by lines of force, and those are called strings. So now you know what string theory is and how this correlates. Another thing is that occult chemistry book talks about isotopes, that is the the neutrons of the same element. Like for example, here the isotopes of hydrogen. These are the neutrons. There are three different neutrons of the same hydrogen element, but with a variation. One has got no neutron. One has got one neutron and one has got two neutrons. Accordingly, these isotopes have different names in modern day science. This is called protium, deuterium, and tritium. The deuterium has got one neutron. Tritium has got two neutrons and one proton. Deuterium has got one neutron and one proton, and protium has got only one proton. So these are called the isotopes. This means that the element is same, but there is a structural difference in the nucleus. So those are called isotopes of an element. And we have even a carbon isotope like this. Like you have the carbon 12, carbon 13, carbon 14. The carbon 12 has got six neutrons, but the same number of protons, six protons, six electrons. The carbon 13 has got seven neutrons, same six protons, six electrons. Whereas carbon 14 has got eight neutrons, at this and the same six protons and this aspect was unknown to science when occult chemistry book was written, but was discovered several years after 1907, when all of this most of this research had been done. So this is another collaborative evidence of the fact that that what was researched then was absolutely true, and not fake or not the imagination of the observers. Only thing is that the names given to the elements became different when the observers saw different number of neutrons. They thought it was a different element, not an isotope. So they didn't have that word isotope, so they gave it different names like occultum or adiarum. They gave names of elements which modern day science doesn't accept as separate elements. They are considered as isotopes of the same element. So this was another collaborative evidence which science knows. One thing that in this book that we have seen earlier by Stephen Phillips, he talks about extrasensory perception of quarks. He suggests that there is a mistake which has been made, and a very innocent mistake, in which he says that when they were peering into the nucleus of an atom, they were actually seeing two nucleuses, not one, because the even the process of their going making them so smaller and seeing was disturbing the nucleus so much that there were actually two nucleus and not one, and that actually corroborates with science, is what the book says. But again, I don't understand this very clearly, so I'm not going to attempt to explain it to you. The other thing, of course, we just saw that about electrons. There is a difference between electrons, protons, and neutrons. Protons, as we saw, are a collection of quarks and subquarks, whereas electrons do not have any such structure. They don't have any structure, and they come from a family of what are called leptrons. Whereas protons and neutrons come from a family of hadrons. And you would have all heard of the hadron accelerator, that word most of you would have heard of. The hadron is a particle like a quark, which is made up of other smaller particles. Like protons and neutrons are made up of smaller particles like Omegon or ultimate physical atom. That is called a hadron, and whereas electrons are come from a family of lepton. So with this, I think you will have understood a little more about what is today's science saying about all of these things, and I think would make a little more interesting to read all these types of books. Thank you so much.